Welcome to the Relationship Workout for Men podcast, season 24, Navigating Emotions in Relationships. We're in episode 1, an introduction to drama therapy, and today's guest is Lindsey Sherwin. She's an artist, registered drama therapist, expressive arts therapist, practitioner, mental health counselor, and social entrepreneur based in New York City. So in this episode, we're going to discuss drama therapy as we explore how role play and storytelling can enhance personal growth and improve relationship dynamics. So what do you think about that, Lindsey?
Well, I'm really excited to delve into this topic with you because I think that drama therapy is certainly an unknown form of psychotherapy, and within the creative modalities, it's not actually well sort of thought about. People don't really know about it, so I'm excited and interested in exploring what it is first and how it's used to help people do a lot of different kinds of things, like manage emotions, express themselves, get clarity on their perspectives, manage conflict. So yeah, I'd love to start out by just sharing what it is, because I think that's like the first sort of question I get. Like, you're a drama therapist, what does that mean? What do you do with that? Are you an actor? Are you a therapist? Well, we're actually both. So part of the requirements is to be a professional actor with acting training and to be a mental health practitioner, meaning you've taken psychology courses and you understand how the human mind and system work to resolve issues internally. And I would like to say also in the environment, which, because drama therapy is so interactive, it is helpful in helping people. It's like a helping profession to sort of change where they are. So to start out, it's the intentional use of theater processes to achieve therapeutic goals. People use it in different ways. And so what I mean by that is some people use it more as a skill-based intervention, where they kind of look at it as more like, oh, let's kind of explore the imaginative process and see how we can recreate situations. So they make it more like interactive, like I said before, and just kind of like, let's immerse ourselves in the drama of it. Whereas if you kind of take a more clinical approach to it, you're sort of asking somebody that you're working with, and this could be a group as well, what are the challenges that you're facing? What are some of the needs that you have with people? It is very relational. And then how do you resolve that through playing a role? And so there's different methods within drama therapy, predominantly like role theory, right, that express how like we play these different parts of ourselves, we play these different roles, and when they're unbalanced, that's not healthy for us. We start to internalize that, or we get kind of caught up, and that's more the psychological component of it. And so really, I'm also happy to, within our conversation today, to get into some of the interventions, because it's such a broad discipline, and it really overlaps with so many different parts of theater, applied theater, other art forms. We sort of have melded it into so many different qualities that can take on like the mold of drama therapy.
I think that for men, one of the key challenges we have is just being genuine in our relationship, just being who we are, because there's so many pressures on us to be a certain way based on all this societal conditioning. I mean, when you say role playing, are you talking about being able to be a little bit, get out of my shell, if you will, and be more genuine, be more of myself? Is that part of this role playing? Like, can you click in a little bit of what do you mean by role playing?
Sure. Yeah. So I think there is an aspect of that, like, how do I be my more authentic self? And then also establishing the first piece of it before we can be authentic. I think it's helpful for men specifically to know who they're playing. So like sometimes, if we're really talking about men, predominantly we have this sort of archetype or stereotype, like aggressive or very forward or, machiavellistic, or just like needing to get something done, or like the doer, right? And so really establishing that and being okay with like that we can play other parts. We can play the vulnerable part of ourselves. We can play like the peacemaker if we want to resolve conflict and not sort of show that other tougher side. And so like acknowledging that we can play different parts that goes against the grain of society, that's something to know within psychology that'll be helpful. But how do you do that? How do you help one do that? And part of role theory and playing it out and getting to a point where you can actually play those parts out is the therapy. So it's like acknowledging we have these roles and then saying, okay, and there's ways to show a person how that looks. So you can do it with role cards, which I often do, literally putting the cards on an index, paper, if you want to do it on paper, or like an index card itself on the table, and letting the client pick a card, and you can organize it within different categories. So who I am today, who I am not, and who I want to be in the future. And within those categories, that person can pick either one or two roles, and you can already start to see their life narrative without having to talk a lot about like traditional therapy, talking about what happened to them in the past. It's like we're here and now, and then we're also going to go a little bit into the future, into that objective reality where we start to see like, this could really help me in this situation. And depending on the person and how aware they are, you can really help somebody resolve their conflict in role theory or using roles pretty quickly. If they might feel warmed up to do an enactment, you can kind of see how that feels, and then they'll just sort of improvise, or it can be more structured. But establishing those different roles, and I've done that in different ways. I'll just share this, that with the roles, they have already been created by the founder of this theory within drama therapy. His name is Dr. Robert Landy. He created the role profiles assessment. And so he has like different roles within the cards, right, that you can choose from, that the person can pick. And what I find myself doing, and I'm sure other therapists do this, you make up your own roles. So the protector, the savior, the hurt one, these are all roles that I could just use after listening to the person's story. So there's an element of creative capacity in this approach that's really helpful.
So, okay, so when you say roles, you're not talking about who cleans the kitchen and who cooks dinner. I mean, you're talking about the role you play in the relationship. And it sounds like there's two vectors. There's the role I've been playing, so as an individual from my past to now, and then there's the role I'm playing in my relationship. And on the role of the relationship, it seems like you would need your partner to be part of that role playing, if you will, because you're going to need to play a different role based on the role your partner plays, or at least get feedback from the partner on what role you've been playing. Can you just talk a little bit about how the partner relationship plays into the roles?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's really integral, because if we're specifically talking about men and relationships, which I think is something that happens quite often with all people, but particularly men who might need more support within negotiating a relationship, or negotiating or renegotiating a reality that continues to happen. So that becomes like a pattern in psychology terms. How do you break that pattern? Well, you can do it through like challenging negative thoughts, right? But you can also, if that's too much, and that could be too much for people, like they don't want to get so cognitive, this reduces that cognitive load, right, or weight on one's shoulders. So you can actually just look at roles as a way of saying, okay, like, who do I see myself being in this situation? So you're just like creating a new world for yourself. Like, okay, like in this particular scenario, this always happens with my girlfriend or my wife or somebody I'm courting. Like I continue to Well, first it's acknowledging, like, I continue to come across maybe a little bit passive aggressive or a little bit pushy or forceful, or I don't give this person space, or I don't pace myself. How can I think about my behavior in a way that connects to who I really am? So it's like I want to be more assertive. I want to be the one who accepts. I want to be the acceptor. What qualities, now this is how I do it, and I've done this with young men as well. What are the qualities that go into that role? So we often have to renegotiate the role. It could be just like starting with qualities. Okay, it sounds to me like you want to be more accepting. You want to be the accepting one. You want to be the peaceful one. You want to be the calm and relaxed one. These are all positive roles. Sometimes we may need to be the more assertive, or the more like, and maybe less up. Like we need to step back for a moment and say, okay, like I need to be the more balanced one. So more or less of certain qualities, establishing those, and then trying out the communication. It is a huge skill in the communication, because that's really where most people find the challenges. If they can understand the role better, they can then execute what they're trying to say in a more specific, meaningful, authentic way.
Is there a way to kind of start, like baby step in? Like, because when we talk about roles, I start going, okay, there's a lot of roles that I play as a husband and a family and obviously a wife. Is there a way to step into this kind of and learn a little bit instead of not boiling the ocean, just and then step another step? And is there kind of that journey that I could be taking?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I usually start this with somebody, particularly in a group, now in individual sessions it looks different, because that person usually is coming on their own accord and they're like, I want to dive right in, I know what this is about, I'm excited. When I've worked with more vulnerable men, maybe who were using substances or who had more challenges, there could have been some difficulties in their past, like trauma or like violence, like other external challenges, resorting to the past with relationships specifically, who became open to it over time. The way I started with them was not with naming roles, but naming emotions. So once they understood the emotions and the range of emotions that we have, they were able to really connect with roles and qualities. And another way I did that was naming the emotions in the body. So getting up in the body and exploring what that looks like. So maybe it's just doing a movement or a gesture, which is really how drama therapy works. If you were to sit in on a drama therapy group, you would often start with naming how you're feeling right now and showing what that looks like in your body, and then passing it to the next person. It really gets the group laughing in their body. The laughing is just really coming from a place of acknowledging, wow, I feel like this, and everybody else in the circle feels like this. A lot of people just don't know what it feels like to be who they really are in the moment, and so it does that. It accomplishes that. But also, if somebody really was like, I really don't know how I'm feeling right now, and they just could not get the word out. Now, that's not always likely. Usually it's like, I'm good, or I'm bad, or I'm not feeling too great, I'm tired. This is usually what you hear. Okay, you need a little bit more than that. You can literally put images in a circle, like you can laminate images and have somebody pick an image, and that can evoke a feeling, and then you can get it out that way. And you can say, like, what do you see in this image? Maybe you're talking about colors, or you're talking about movements. Even sound is helpful, using sound with the body. So it can start really fundamental and then move and progress slowly into, like, who am I being right now? A little bit deeper, who do I want to be? More into that psychological realm.
Wow. I had never heard of drama therapy, so this is really, really helpful as an introduction. We're going to end this episode now because this is a natural segue to our next episode, which is around naming emotions. So I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, Lindsey.
Thank you.